Greetings everybody, it is Monica with King's Titan Homestead and Monica Makes It King Honey Farms, and today I am doing a review on an article in Hobby Farms magazine that is in the September-October 2022 issue. And the title of it, which caught my attention while I was running through the store the other day, is Feed Your Bees. So with that, I'm like, okay, I need to pick this up and read what they have to say. And I was pretty impressed. It is talking about putting in natural pollen and nectar sources for the right timing of the year. So this is something that I teach when I'm doing my classes. I'm like, if you want to do things that are beneficial to your bees and you want to plant for your bees, you want to put in things that are not blooming at the same time as there's like a ton of, like a smorgasbord of other plants blooming, like right in the height of spring. You don't want to have a bunch of plants that you put in that are going to be all at the same time. You want to have it all staggered out throughout the year. And in your region, like in the Southwest region here, we have almost every day of the year we'll have forage degrees, 55 degrees and over. And it's very rare that we don't reach that in the middle of the day. And so our bees want to go out and do something, and they're looking for things. And so if you can put in plants that provide something year round, like have different things that will bloom year round, different timing, like you want to focus on late fall, winter, early spring, before, you know, all the other spring flowers happen, and in the middle of our summers. So those are the plants that when you put them in your yard, those are the things you want to focus on. And so this was pretty cool on the menu, and they talk about that, and they've got some researchers, notably from the University of Florida in there. And so, you know, I was like, I like this. The only thing that kind of like caught my attention is that there's some plants that are really not beneficial to bees. And they talk about lupin in here, how, okay, a good idea would be to put, like a little block of all of the same color to draw your pollinators in. It helps with communications and things like that, but so that there's a large area of that source. But they talk about lupin, and I have found that in this area, when lupin blooms, we have a decrease in brood production. Lupin pollen actually hurts our bees, and this is not something that I'm just going, throwing out there. We haven't really done the research here on the honeybees, and I wish our local USDA lab would do something like that. But there has been research papers done on how lupin pollen actually hurts bumblebees. So that's been done, and on the bumblebee, so it's not, it wouldn't be like shocking to believe what I'm saying about my experience with lupin pollen actually hurting the bees. So then there was something just totally like, what? I already knew that man has been screwing with plants since, for quite a while now. And when I mean screwing with it, I mean like hybridizing them in order to create bigger blossoms that are prettier for the gardeners. The problem is when you do things like that, you might decrease what's beneficial to the pollinators. And so I already knew that nectar sources have decreased when they hybridize certain plants. So the blossoms might be bigger, but they're not more beneficial to the pollinators. They might be prettier to us just to look at, but if you're going to be watering a garden in these times when water is actually something that we're trying to save and conserve, you don't want to put in a hybrid plant that you're going to be watering and it's not going to give full beneficial use to everybody. So just because it's big and beautiful doesn't mean it's better. And this is something that just shockingly, I already knew the nectar, but guess what? They're coming out with pollenless. Yeah, pollenless flowers too. So I had to look that up. I'm like, what the heck? So, some sunflowers that have been hybridized now have no pollen or very, very, very little pollen in them. And why is that? It's so that when we do our cut flowers and we bring them in and put them in the center of our tables to look at, they don't drop a pollen dust on the table. Wah! We are becoming so particular and so nitpicky about things that we have to have pollenless flowers for our tables while we're hurting our pollinators. And we're going to throw a bunch of water at that for our benefit and nobody else's. Come on, man. Wake up. This is getting really pathetic, really bad. And so, if you're going to plant for your bees, put in heirloom species, native species, things that are local to your area. But then wait a minute. But maybe it might not bloom at this, these special times. So just do a little research when you're like wanting to put something in. So for instance, the Vitex. It is a shrub / tree like thing, and they have hybridized Vitex that you buy at the stores. They have hybridized it so bad that they're making the blossoms bigger, the blossom clusters bigger, but they're not as good as the original Vitex that you can rarely find anymore. Can you believe that? So these are just things I wanted to touch on. What I really loved, really loved, is that they mention weeds. Wonderful weeds, and this is true. So a lot of the things that plants that they say in here are Eastern plants. They really, they did mention the California poppy for the Southwest here, and brassicas. So those wild mustards, putting in cover crop type things that, you would normally put in for forage for like deer. That's some back east, you get these like big seed bags full of like turnips, mustards, all these things like that. If you allow them to flower, that is like a fabulous source for the bees. So you've seen my previous videos possibly. If you haven't, you'll know that I really promote leaving the weeds and allowing things like broccoli, mustard, Chinese cabbages. Allow your garden to bloom. Allow your food garden, your market garden, allow it to bloom. The bees will come forage, they'll benefit from it, and then you can harvest the seeds because you're not buying hybrids. Win-win, right? So I really thought that this was fabulous. And if you want to go further down the rabbit hole and kind of, it'll make you sick to your stomach, but not, it's an educational talk that I really promote is on TED Talks. Marla Spivak has done Why Bees Are Disappearing. And I'll put a link to that below. It's very informative. So I hope that you will go over to that and listen to Dr. Spivak talk about why bees are disappearing. It is a scary thing. So thank you for joining me today, and see these empty shelves? I've been working and I'm about to fill those up. I am in my classroom where I teach Beekeeping 101 and advanced beekeeping classes, and I'm about to fill these up with some more of my bee collectibles. And those, I'm gonna do like box openings coming up soon where I'm like opening collectibles that I haven't seen in like 2-3 years. So it'll be like Christmas. Thanks, bye.